All right, Indianapolis Colts are up next. They start with Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State. This was the people were right. This was one of the most common mock draft picks. Tyler Warren to the Colts, fitting a need and about where people expected Warren to go. JT Tuimoloau, the Ohio State edge rusher, JTT in the second round. Justin Wally, the cornerback out of Minnesota in the third. Jalen Travis, the Iowa State tackle in the fourth. DJ Giddens, running back out of Kansas State in the fifth. And then the most significant of the rest of the picks, Riley Leonard, the QB out of Notre Dame in the sixth, also went defensive tackle Tim Smith from Alabama with a sixth rounder, and Hunter Wohler, the safety out of Wisconsin. What were your thoughts on this Colts draft here, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Tyler Warren in the first round was one of the chalkiest first round picks in mock drafts. It would have been interesting to know, because Colson Loveland went off the board before Tyler Warren, which wasn't something a lot of people had predicted pre-draft. It would be interesting to know if they were both on the board, which one would the Colts have gone for? Obviously, Tyler Warren, I think, is a great fit for them, but I'm curious if they would have had Loveland ranked higher as well, or if it was just other teams that did. Either way, Warren is a need for this offense, a great fit for it as well. Can block, can be a good receiving option as well, can just massively upgrade the tight end spot, which has been a problem for the Colts for a while, and which was the glaring weakness. Now you start to look at the overall collection of skill position players. They've got a lot of weapons. Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs. That's a nice receiving trio. Adonai Mitchell, ridiculous athlete, ridiculous talent. I don't know what he's going to be yet based off his rookie season, which was just confusing, but also non-productive. And then Tyler Warren brings the tight end to the table. Jonathan Taylor, DJ Giddens in the draft as well. This is a really fun group and good group of playmakers to go to work with the quarterback, whether it ends up being Richardson or Daniel Jones.
Yeah, let's stick with this Tyler Warren discussion and then get to the rest of the draft here, because the other element, I think he's a pretty good run blocker. I think he's got the ability to mix it up on the line of scrimmage. And then we saw how Penn State used Tyler Warren, moving him around, using him as an H-back, using him as the direct snap guy. He's a former high school quarterback, lefty thrower too. He's going to have a couple passes in there, and opposing teams have to remember he's lefty. So if you got him rolling left, you got to watch out. But I think he helps the run game as well. And obviously, I think the Colts want Anthony Richardson to develop and have the starting job. But whether it's Richardson or Daniel Jones, they both have running elements to their game. You had their running element next to Jonathan Taylor, one of the better running backs in the NFL. Warren, who does upgrade your run game just a little bit in his versatility. I think you can add some creativity to the offense, and you can also just add a little bit more run game creativity to the offense. So I'm with you. When you just list all those playmakers, they have a little bit of everything. Deep threats, they have possession receivers, they have the A.D. Mitchell wild card, as you mentioned. He could be great, who knows? And then you have Tyler Warren, a guy that, he's big-bodied for today's NFL as far as tight ends go, as far as his size and the way he uses his body up the seam. So, yeah, I think he becomes a dependable target, upgrades your run game a little bit, and makes the Colts a little bit more difficult to defend in the first round. And that's me saying I would have rather taken those tight ends a little bit later in the first round, but with so much uncertainty on both lines of scrimmage and some of the other players there, I get it. I understand.
Tight end hater, Steve.
Tight end hater, Steve. I will say I didn't love the rest of the Colts draft. I thought they were all, okay picks, but JT Tuimoloau, I would have taken a few other edges ahead of him, but he's a dependable, I think, early down run defender type that, grew on you the more you watched him.
Yeah, I mean, I like the pick. The only thing I'm surprised about is that the Bucks didn't take him in their straight down the fairway draft. JTT would have been perfect for safest draft pick you can make type of deal. I do like him. I think his ceiling is limited. I don't think he has superstar potential, but he's a technically sound player. One of the most technically sort of advanced, I think, in this edge rush class. He's powerful. He's a really good run defender. I think it makes a really nice pairing with last year's pick, Latu. I think Latu has significantly higher upside than JTT does, but I think he definitely adds to this rotation and gives them some depth and also some future flexibility with the guys that they have coming up with contracts. So, would I have gone with a different player at that position? Maybe, but I don't have any problem with that. I think it's a perfectly sound, safe draft pick.
Same thing, Justin Wally, you got a 4-year starter from Minnesota, pretty solid player, but just felt more like a day 3 type of player. They got him in round 3 instead. He's got a chance to compete for that starting spot opposite Travarius Ward, who they brought in. You mentioned on the live show, after years of having Gus Bradley and having the super long corners in the old school Seattle cover 3, Wally's a little bit shorter, not as long, under 31-inch arms, and just a different body type here than what the Colts have brought in over the last couple of years. So maybe he competes for time opposite Ward, with Juju Brents, Jalen Jones, and some of the incumbents there on the other side next to Ward, who they spent $18 million a year for. As far as day 3, I thought Jalen Travis at tackle is one of the better, quote, developmental tackles in this draft. Moves really well. Transferred from Princeton to Iowa State, only 1 year at Iowa State. I think his run blocking, he's like my criticism of Gray Zabel was kind of run blocking angles and just getting to the second level, which I think coaches can fix, right? You can coach that up a little bit. Travis has some similarities, but I think it's about 6'7", moves extremely well. So as far as developmental tackles go, I think he's as good as it gets as far as a day 3 type of prospect. Hey guys, just taking a quick break to tell you, hey, just over 50% of you are still unsubscribed to Check the Mic. It helps the channel. It helps to make sure that you don't miss any of our shows. So if you have a chance, hit the subscribe button right now.
Yeah, and I like DJ Giddens as a change of pace option as well in that backfield. I mean, he's a home run hitter as well. Didn't love him overall in this draft class, but in the 5th round, I'm absolutely all on board taking a guy like that to back up what they already have in Jonathan Taylor and to provide a kind of change of pace, guy that could come in, bring something a little bit different to the table. And then Riley Leonard, the Notre Dame quarterback, people talked about as literally like a mashup of Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. If you threw them both in a meat grinder, it would spit out a version of Riley Leonard at the other end of it. He's a perfect kind of composite of the two of them. And Riley Leonard was weird to me because I wanted to like him. Like I went through his tape, but I was buying what he was selling. I kind of bought into the whole thing. And then you sort of take a step back and look at it at the end of it. And you're like, he just unfortunately isn't that good. Like I want to like the kid. I want to buy in. I want to say yes on Riley Leonard. And yet if you write down everything, you're like, there's just not really that much there at the end of it all.
Yeah, I don't think his feel for the pass game is great. General timing and anything beyond 10 yards in my notes multiple times came up, just felt like a chore. Look, I mean, and then obviously you could always find some good throws in there and things that offset that. There just wasn't enough. But he runs really well. I mean, he was compared to Daniel Jones at Duke as the big quarterback that can run a little bit, right? And he never developed as a passer the same way Daniel Jones did. And I didn't love Jones as a passer coming out either, but Leonard was way behind, I think, Daniel Jones throwing the ball. But he's got that run game ability, and throw him in the developmental quarterback bucket in round 6.
Yeah, and he played reasonably well at the Senior Bowl, which I think stands to his stead. But it's a lot like, remember when Daniel Jones, like early in his career, there was some big plays there, and then they just evaporated, and like Daniel Jones' productivity just ceased to exist, and he wasn't turning the ball over that much, but he just wasn't bringing much to the table. That's kind of what it felt like with Riley Leonard, where it took him like 4 games in to throw a passing touchdown this season. The commentary line when he finally got one was, and finally Riley Leonard has a touchdown pass in a Notre Dame uniform. And this is, Notre Dame national contender, et cetera. Now, to be fair, he had 4 or 5 rushing touchdowns at that point. But still, if you're talking about a quarterback that has NFL ability, you don't want that guy to be taking a month to record a passing touchdown in his college career when he's on a contending, elite level team. You want that guy to be posting a fairly regular output of passing scores and passing production, and he just wasn't. So it did feel a lot like kind of late stage Daniel Jones, where it's like the running threat is there, the passing threat just isn't at the moment, and I don't know if it ever will be.
Hunter Wohler, the other name I'll just throw out there, Wisconsin safety, maybe outside chance to start down the road. 6'2", good size, had a good 3-cone, productive player at Wisconsin for a couple of years. So I don't think it was an exciting draft necessarily. You get a tight end, and you got tight end in round 1. Warren's good, and then JTT for me more like don't love the juice off the edge, and for a 2nd round edge rusher, he could be a dependable player. Like again, like I said with a lot of teams here, see a path to the field for 3 or 4 of these draft picks, other developmental options, and that's the Colts draft here. The consensus, I thought the consensus, yeah, go ahead.
Well, you were destined to hate this draft from the moment they took a tight end in the first round. So I think you have to adjust your expectations for that. I will say, when you use Arif Hassan's study, you go to his Twitter page, you'll find his Substack, Wide Left is the name of it. He compares all these teams to the consensus value to kind of tot up effectively what value they got with their picks in addition to just the players. It's got the Colts with one of the top 5 most valuable drafts relative to the capital that they expended to take those players. So in really? At least one way, you can view this as a very good draft from a process standpoint.
I'm surprised that, because I figured Warren and JTT were right there. Wally was probably a reach given the consensus board. Where else would they have gained value? I'm surprised by that, to be honest. But that's just
I'm not sure. Without seeing it pick by pick, they don't have anybody within the top 15 sort of individual steals, but
got it.
Collectively, the draft scored well.
I'm just surprised by that. The consensus has the Colts at number 22 overall. Even Thor liked it, B+. But yeah, Colts number 22 on Renee's consensus GPA rankings here. Anything else on the Colts?
Nope.
Let's go Houston Texans here. They had an interesting one.
Wait. I misspoke. They are not, in fact, the top 5. They were the top 5 of the level where the page had cut off on my window. They are, in fact, middle of the pack.
Okay. That sounds a little bit more reasonable. I think they got pretty much everybody where they were expected, except maybe Wally right there.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.